Imagine you are standing on a beach. You pick up a single grain of sand, hold it between your thumb and forefinger, and look at it. Now, imagine that grain of sand represents our entire sun, a massive, roaring engine of nuclear fusion that sustains all life on Earth. If that grain is our sun, then the nearest neighboring star is another grain of sand located 3 miles away. Image, extreme close-up of a human hand holding a single, tiny grain of sand against a blurred beach background. Image, a wide, cinematic shot of a vast, empty desert landscape under a deep blue sky. Image, a glowing, golden model of the sun surrounded by dark, infinite space. Image, an animation showing a map with 2 tiny specks of light separated by a vast, empty distance. Image, a telescope pointed toward the twinkling night sky from a mountain peak. Now, extend that logic to the entire observable universe. There are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on every beach on Earth. Yet, when we look out into that vast, dark expanse, we are met with a silence so profound it borders on the terrifying. We call this the Great Silence. Image, a breathtaking high-resolution shot of the Milky Way galaxy arching over a dark silhouette of a forest. Image, digital visualization of billions of stars forming a dense, shimmering galactic disk. Image, a montage of Earth's city lights viewed from space, transitioning into a dark, empty void. Image, an artist's rendering of a radio telescope dish tilted upward toward the stars. Image, a waveform graphic representing a signal being transmitted through deep space. Where is everyone? If the universe is ancient, vast, and teeming with the chemical building blocks of life, why hasn't anyone called? Today, we are going to peel back the layers of our reality, traveling from the tiny, fragile cradle of our home planet to the very edge of the observable horizon. Image, a spinning 3D model of the Earth suspended in the black void. Image, the Earth zooming out rapidly to reveal the neighborhood of the solar system. Image, a diagram showing the distance between Earth and the Moon, and then the Sun. Image, an animation of the solar system orbits clicking into place like clockwork. Image, a close-up of the Sun's surface, showing boiling, turbulent solar flares. We live in a bubble. A bubble of space, time, and physics that feels incredibly stable, but is actually a precarious anomaly. To understand our place in the universe, we have to grasp the sheer audacity of our existence. We are made of star stuff, quite literally. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, and the oxygen in your lungs were all forged in the heart of a dying star that exploded billions of years ago. Image, a nebula cloud swirling with vibrant purples, pinks, and oranges. Image, an explosion of a supernova, scattering bright, glowing debris into the darkness. Image, macro shot of a human eye, showing the iris detail, then transitioning into a nebula. Image, a scientific diagram showing the fusion of elements inside a stellar core. Image, a microscopic view of human blood cells flowing through a vein. But let's talk about distance. The scale of the universe is not something the human brain was evolved to process. We are wired to track predators, find food, and manage social groups. We are not wired to comprehend billions of light years. When we look at a photograph of the Andromeda galaxy, we are looking at light that left its source 2.5 million years ago. Image, a long exposure shot of the Andromeda galaxy spiraling in the dark. Image, an animation of a photon traveling across a vast, dark, empty corridor of space. Image, a Stone Age human looking up at a starry night sky, looking confused and small. Image, a modern astronaut standing on the surface of the Moon, looking back at Earth. Image, a timeline graphic representing 2.5 million years of history. If you were to drive a car at highway speeds to the Sun, it would take you nearly 200 years. If you drove that same car to the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, it would take you 48 million years. The space between things isn't empty, it's an ocean of impossibility. And yet, this space is expanding. Image, a red car driving on a lonely highway through a mountain pass. Image, an infographic comparing the distance to the Sun with the distance to the nearest star. Image, an illustration showing space being stretched like a sheet of elastic fabric. Image, a galaxy cluster moving away from the viewer in a time-lapse simulation. Image, a dark, mysterious representation of dark energy pushing space apart. This is where the concept of the cosmic horizon comes in. Because the universe is expanding, and because light has a finite speed, there is a limit to how far we can see. Everything beyond that limit is effectively a different universe, a place we will never interact with, never see, and never reach. It is a boundary of our own ignorance. Image, a circular boundary in space, with the center illuminated and the edges fading into darkness. Image, an abstract representation of light rays bending around massive objects. Image, a futuristic telescope orbiting in deep space, capturing distant starlight. Image, an artist's depiction of a black hole bending the light of background stars. Image, a conceptual art piece showing two people separated by an ever-expanding chasm. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old. Our own civilization has been broadcasting radio waves for barely a century. In the grand cosmic calendar, we are a blink of an eye, a tiny flicker of consciousness in a universe that doesn't seem to notice we're here. This realization often leads to an existential crisis, but there is a strange beauty in it. Image, a calendar-style graphic representing the history of the universe condensed into a year. Image, a neon sign for a radio station flickering in the dark. Image, a close-up of a human face looking thoughtful and slightly melancholic. Image, a wide-angle shot of a dark ocean at night, representing the vastness of space. Image, a glimmer of gold light reflecting on calm water. Consider the Drake equation, a probabilistic formula used to estimate the number of active, communicative extraterrestrial civilizations in the Milky Way. It accounts for the rate of star formation, the percentage of stars with planets, the number of planets that could support life, and the fraction of those that actually develop intelligence. The variables are speculative, but the implication is staggering. Image, a chalkboard filled with complex mathematical equations and symbols. Image, a computer-generated planet with liquid water and green vegetation. Image, a futuristic cityscape on an alien moon with multiple moons in the sky. Image, a digital radar screen searching for patterns in white noise. Image, a silhouette of a scientist standing before a giant wall of computer monitors. If the odds of life are even moderately high, the galaxy should be humming with activity. We should see Dyson spheres, massive structures built around stars to harvest their energy. We should see signals, traffic, and history. Yet, when we scan the skies, we see only the cold, mechanical movements of gravity and thermodynamics. Image, a structure built of rings and wires surrounding a bright, burning star. Image, a digital visualization of thermal radiation emitting from an alien structure. Image, a quiet, deserted landscape on an alien planet with red rock. Image, a radio telescope array in a snowy, isolated mountain valley. Image, a screen showing a flat line of radioactivity. This leads us to the Great Filter. It's the idea that there is some evolutionary barrier that is extremely difficult to pass. Perhaps it is the jump from single-celled life to complex life. Or perhaps it is the development of technology that doesn't immediately destroy the planet that birthed it. Maybe we are the first. Maybe we are the only ones who survived the filter. Or, more hauntingly, maybe we are the next ones to hit it. Image, a single cell dividing into two, highlighted with bright neon colors. Image, a burning forest, representing environmental collapse. Image, a nuclear explosion mushroom cloud in the distance. Image, an abstract representation of a maze with only one clear exit. Image, a human hand pressing a red button. We find ourselves in a universe that is both hostile and majestic. The radiation from supernovas, the crushing gravity of black holes, and the freezing vacuum of space seem to suggest that we were not intended to be here. We are an accident of chemistry, a biological miracle that happened by chance. Image, a swirling, violent black hole pulling in surrounding dust and gas. Image, a lone astronaut floating in the darkness, tethered by a thin cord. Image, an extreme close-up of a strand of DNA spinning in a void. Image, a microscopic view of a vibrant, living cell moving through liquid. Image, a lone lighthouse standing on a rocky cliff, looking out over a storm. And yet, we look up. That innate human drive to explore, to name, and to understand is our defining feature. We have sent probes into the interstellar void. The Voyager spacecraft is currently drifting through the dark, carrying a golden record, a message from a species that was barely learning how to fly when the mission began. Image, a metallic probe drifting through deep space with a small plaque. Image, a gold-plated record disc floating in space. Image, a montage of human civilization, architecture, art, music, science. Image, a photo of the pale blue dot taken by Voyager, showing Earth as a tiny speck. Image, an animation of the Voyager probe leaving our solar system. That photo, the pale blue dot, is perhaps the most important image in human history. It reminds us that every person you have ever known, every king and peasant, every saint and sinner, lived their lives on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. Our wars, our ideologies, our pride, they are invisible from the perspective of the cosmos. Image, the famous pale blue dot image, grainy and faint in the darkness. Image, a close-up of the Earth from space, with its thin, fragile atmosphere visible. Image, a wide shot of a modern city at night, glowing with electricity. Image, a crowd of people walking through a bustling, busy street. Image, a beautiful sunset over the horizon of the Earth. So, what is the answer to the silence? Is it that we are alone, or is it that we just aren't listening correctly? The universe is expanding, and every day, more galaxies move beyond our reach. We are in a race against time. The longer we wait to reach out, the lonelier our corner of the universe becomes. Image, a digital map showing galaxies moving apart, accelerating away from each other. Image, a close-up of a human ear listening, then turning into a radio dish. Image, a bright star flickering out and disappearing into the dark. Image, an animation of light traveling across a vast distance to a receiver. Image, a beautiful, artistic shot of a comet streaking across the night sky. But to be the only ones, to be the consciousness of the universe, is a heavy burden. If we are the only species that can appreciate the beauty of a nebula, the complexity of a star's life cycle, or the logic of physics, then our existence is not an accident. It is the universe waking up to experience itself. Image, a nebula looking like a human eye staring back at the viewer. Image, a glowing neural network animation pulsating with light. Image, a telescope mirror reflecting the starry sky. Image, a person standing on a mountain looking at the stars, feeling empowered. Image, a golden light emanating from the center of a spiral galaxy. We are the explorers. We are the ones who look at the darkness and demand an explanation. And though the silence persists, we continue to listen. Because one day, perhaps, the hum of the universe will finally harmonize with a voice that isn't our own. And in that moment, the loneliness of the last 13 billion years will be worth it. Image, a close-up of a person's face, looking toward the horizon with hope. Image, a vast landscape of stars, shimmering with potential. Image, an animation of a signal being received by a massive radio telescope. Image, a glowing, ethereal light traveling across the universe. Image, the screen fades to a deep, serene black. If you found yourself staring at the stars a little differently today, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We release deep dives into the cosmos every week. You are the universe's way of knowing itself, don't stop looking up. Image, the channel logo appearing on a starfield background. Image, a final, majestic shot of the entire Milky Way galaxy.